Hello, and welcome to Demystifying the Paleo Diet, customizing the paleo diet for your health. You've probably seen those words, the next fad diet. Paleo, vegan, plant-based. Even the cabbage soup diet has success stories. But always with those success stories, you see that little asterisk. Results not typical. In this class, I want to give you all of the tools for your next diet to be a success. Not just a diet, but maybe more like a lifestyle. And this is an overview of the class. In part 1, we're going to discuss where we went wrong and how did we get into this huge mess. In the second part of the class, we're going to discuss the diet that's right for you. And finally, we're going to talk about all of the tools that you need in order to be successful. How did we go from something that looked like this to something that looks more like this? Progress sometimes can hinder us. Let me give you an example. Do you recognize this? That's maize. That's an ancestor to something that looks like this. Yeah, that's corn. You see, maize was selected through the process of harvesting, and we ended up with something that was a little bit more full of nutrients, and that was easier to use as a food source. The problem is that sometimes nutrition can be extracted a little bit too much. Now we have something that looks like this. That's high fructose corn syrup. But before we continue talking about how technology can hinder us, let me introduce you to someone. Have you ever heard of Dr. Weston A. Price? Dr. Weston A. Price was a dentist, and earlier in his career, he didn't see that many dental problems. But as he progressed in the later years of his career, he started seeing more caries and crowding of the teeth around the jaw. And he started questioning himself, how come earlier in my career I didn't see these problems? And he started thinking about, what has civilization done to our teeth? So he decided to go around the world. He started taking pictures on his travels. He would visit traditional societies and compare their dental records to a more modern society. As you can see on your left, these traditional societies had perfect teeth. They weren't crowded. They had less caries. On your right, you can see that once modernization came into play, you started having bad teeth. You started having more crowding, and then maybe you needed an extraction. Now, we can trace back, and you can make an argument that eating a traditional diet impacts more than just your weight. It could impact your dental health. It could impact your well-being. For example, pictures like this were not uncommon. Back in the traditional societies, people were more resilient. They were stronger. They had less incidence of things like cancer, less incidence of things like diabetes. And he started making those connections. How can a traditional diet help you prevent these diseases of civilization? The sad part is that if you go outside and take a random picture, something like this is not going to be uncommon. Is this really what progress looks like? I'm going to give you an example of a way that progress can hinder us. When I see this foot insoles, I see something that is going to give us cushion and is going to prevent us from actually developing the muscles on our feet. You might end up with something that looks like this. You see those collapsed ankles? That looks painful. There is a theory that those collapsed ankles are caused because the muscles in our feet are not getting stronger because we are not walking barefoot. When you walk barefoot, you are engaging more muscles than just your ankles. And if you strengthen those muscles, we might be able to correct that collapse. And if you correct that collapse, you might rescue your foot arch, or you might get rid of things such as plantar fasciitis or different problems with your gait. But we'll talk more about this later. How did we end up like this? We can trace back this trend of trying to just cover the symptom to penicillin. You see, when penicillin was discovered, penicillin was like a silver bullet for infections. It was a new era of treatment with penicillin, we were very effective at treating the infection. Now, this is a good thing because the infection is the cause of the problem, not just the symptom. The problem was that once we figured out that we could find a silver bullet for infections, we decided to look for the silver bullet for cancer, look for the silver bullet for heart disease, diabetes. The problem is that we might be approaching this the wrong way. You see, I don't see diabetes as being the source of the problem. I see diabetes as being a symptom that something is wrong. So silencing the symptom only creates bigger problems. Let me give you an example. You're driving down the highway and the check engine light on your car goes off. You take it to the mechanic and the mechanic says, "Oh, you know what? I've seen this problem before." And he just pops the bulb. The symptom's gone, but the underlying problem is still there. So if we want to correct all these problems that we have with our health, we need to look beyond our symptoms and try to eliminate the actual cause of the problem.